If you've been online lately, you've probably heard that running a business is super easy and anyone can do it. Well, that's complete nonsense. We're here to share with you the real world of entrepreneurship. Welcome to I Can't Hustle Any Harder Than This. Welcome to today's episode of I Can't Hustle Any Harder Than This. I'm Rachael Wonderlin, and I'm here with
Emily
That's
my
Naples,
name.
my co-host. That's her name. Don't wear it out. Oh, God. And today we're interviewing Connie of Cookie Ice Cream. She has a business in Pittsburgh. And yeah, she does cookies and ice cream. And Connie, tell us about yourself.
I'm a mom of 6 kids,
Wow.
and most of them like me.
That's good. That's
not,
good odds.
Not usually on the same day, but
Of course.
you know, it happens. We started Cookie Ice Cream to find employment for my daughter, who is 26 this year. 26.
Wow.
She has Down syndrome, and we couldn't find a place that could work with the way she needed to train in terms of she's very skilled and very talented, but she has some limitations in her attention span when she's learning, you know, frustration levels, whatever. So we decided to start something that would take time out of the equation for learning.
Sure.
So we realized that there were a lot of people in our area that needed exactly what she needed because we needed it. We had to go all the way to the waterfront. For those of you not in Pittsburgh, it's 40 minutes in the wrong direction because you have to cross rivers and bridges. And that's not a thing we do. And so we opened very close to our house, and we started working with one school, and now we work with 10. And we provide job opportunities to kids with intellectual disabilities. More importantly, we teach them how to work with other people, which is more important than learning. Like, you can crack an egg. Anybody can crack an egg, you know, but you don't necessarily know how to talk to someone in your workplace and tell them that you need something, or have the comfort level to sit down with them during a break and strike up a conversation.
Okay, cool.
And kids with disabilities in general, you know, they're always clustered in their little classroom groups, and they go on their little outings together, but they don't have a lot of opportunities to intermingle with other people. And the community of disabilities and people, let me just put it to you this way. If you see this, I myself have ADHD.
I'm going to move this mic a little closer to you as well.
Just a little closer now. Okay. If you got a flat tire today,
Yeah.
off the top of your head, how many people could you think of that you could call and say, I have a flat tire and I need help? Besides AAA, obviously.
A bunch of people.
A bunch
of people, yeah.
Not me. Don't look at me.
I'm calling you.
If
I have.
You have.
If a person with a disability has a crisis, they usually have 3 people they can call.
Really?
2 of them work for them, and 1 of them is a family member, maybe.
Interesting.
They don't
Okay.
have the same type of social network that you and I have. And that is something that we as a population can change by including these people in the workforce, because your work is more than we're a bakery. Sure, we bake cookies, but your work is more than that, right? It's the community, it's the purpose, it's the integration into society as a whole. It's the thing you're proud of.
Yeah.
You know, even on your worst day, you know, don't you go home and say, okay, but I got through that and I did that thing.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody deserves that. So what we're trying to do is help these kids in that transitional period, 16, 17, 18, to understand that they're valuable, they contribute, they matter, and they are capable, and they're capable of making friends and having relationships. And we do that partly because we integrate with lots of other people that they otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to be with.
That's so cool.
Right.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
like all born out of my desire for my own kid to have a place.
Yeah.
And when did you start?
So we started our planning in 2020. At that time, aside from the same week that COVID started, my best friend also died. She had cancer, and I was one of her primary. I was her chemo buddy. I drove her to Philadelphia back and forth a bunch of times, and we did a lot of planning and thinking and dreaming. Her daughter also has Down syndrome. So 2020 was like the year where the whole world stopped, and that was good. We needed that time. But we started in 2021 We signed our lease in 2022. We opened our doors September 10th, anniversary of my mom's death, because we decided when she died, my mom was one of those people who's like always had big ideas and didn't necessarily want to do them and was always cheerleading everyone who had the chutzpah to do them, you know? So we thought this is the best way we could possibly honor her, was to say, okay, Mom, our cookies are all your recipes anyway, so
Nice.
we're gonna do that. So
you have a physical shop,
we
right?
have a
You
physical store.
shop.
We are 1,800 square feet. We have a seating area. We do birthday parties, super fun. We make our ice cream in-house. You can watch my son make the ice cream. Our kitchen is open. You can watch everybody doing all the things all the time.
Cool.
Yeah, it makes it possible to threaten people with, excommunication if the counters aren't clean. We're like, everybody can see you.
Right.
And you also started this with your son.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about that.
So my son is a late diagnosed individual on the spectrum. He was diagnosed at 32. We always knew that he was on the spectrum, but he's 32, and 25 years ago, being on the spectrum meant something very different than it means now.
Right. Sure.
Right.
And he was very conscious of that. He is a genius. And if he watches this podcast, he'll be like, don't stop telling people that. He's a genius, like a literal genius, okay?
It's a lot of pressure, Mom.
Right.
You're going to come and get ice cream and be like, what's the square root of blah, blah, blah.
And he'll be able to tell them, and that's the scary thing.
Oh,
right?
okay.
But when he approaches ice cream, he'll tell you, I'll just throw a bunch of goop into the machine. But come on, man. Here's what he does. He has, I'm sorry. You're going to get very weird, bouncy energy here. We have a flavor that we make once a year called Crazy Caprese, and it is basil ice cream to which he's added a tiny bit of lactic acid, which gives it a slightly off cheesy flavor.
Oh, interesting.
And then he pairs it with a Italian tomato jelly and a reduced balsamic vinaigrette ribbon. So it's caprese salad in an ice cream, and it sells out, I kid you not, 18 hours it's gone.
Really?
We make it once a year. Crazy caprese.
Oh, interesting.
Because I wouldn't necessarily be like, I want that.
yeah, I would
Every
not
single
necessarily
person
be
who-
excited about that.
we always have a flavor that people are like, oh, I just got to try it. 9 times out of 10, that's a huge hit.
Wow.
But
Interesting.
Crazy Caprese, people are like, that can't possibly work. And then they're like, oh my God, that works. Like strawberry balsamic, same thing. It's like, that shouldn't work. It works.
Yeah.
No, we're not making spam ice cream, no matter how many people ask us to.
Now, you do change your flavors. You do different cookies, right? So what's that kind of like process? How do you decide that?
We don't decide it. We just go, oh no, we don't have a cookie of the month. And then we come up with
really?
something. Yeah, we're terrible.
You have cookies here.
I do have cookies here.
Let's see them.
So
Let's
some of these
see
cookies
them.
are our regular cookies that we always have.
Oh.
Rachel's like, I want a
Dun,
cookie.
dun, dun.
Dun, 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 dun. For those
So-
listening, you can't tell what's in this box, but maybe you
So
can
chocolate-
tell us.
Chocolate crinkle is my mom's traditional chocolate crinkle cookie
Okay.
that she makes at Christmas. Only she always made them, may she rest in peace, wrong, because she made them this big. Come on, people.
Yeah, and they're if you
These are
watching-
big.
And they're big and flat. I modified recipes
Oh,
so that they would be flat because we make ice cream sandwiches out of them. And that's kind of our
okay.
shtick, right?
So what are all? There's
So
an
that's
M&M.
M&M.
There's an M&M one.
Snickerdoodle, chocolate
Snickerdoodle.
crinkle, red velvet. That is Lucky Charms marshmallow.
This is Lucky Charms.
That one will turn any grown man into an 8-year-old instantaneously.
Interesting.
Let me see it.
Let's.
Oh.
You gotta. What's
That's
this one?
a lovely
It's
cookie.
just
And
a
that's
cookie.
our classic sugar cookie. I have been told by many people, particularly old people, that
Mm-hmm.
it is as good or better than their grandmother's cookie.
I'm gonna try it
And
because
to you and me, that is like the best compliment you can ever get.
Yeah.
Because if you think of how many cookies has a 90-year-old eaten,
Yeah,
probably a lot of cookies.
over the years.
it's
We're
just-
taste testing right now for those of you listening.
Isn't that lovely?
That
It's
is
just
lovely.
Like a super buttery, chewy.
It like melts in your mouth.
yeah, it has all the feels.
Wow.
So that not only can you get cookies, you can get, like she had said, like
Cookies and ice cream.
Right.
Or just ice cream.
So yes, and so what my kids do, I call them kids, not because they're not young adults. It's because I'm a boomer. Okay, I have that good authority. I'm a boomer.
Well, and they're your kids.
They are my kids. All of my kids are my kids.
Right.
They help me. They start out, when I get kids in my program, I just throw them into the mix, right? They just immediately start doing whatever the thing is. So if we're running out of chocolate chip cookies today we're making chocolate chip cookies, and that's just how it goes. I mean, you have a small business. When you have a small business, you're putting out fires, and then you're planning to do the things that you don't have to put out the fires, right? So they learn everything from measuring, cracking eggs, whatever, to scooping and all the things that. And then so what we do is we make the kits so that if we run out of chocolate chip cookies, we can just make them real fast because the kits are ready to go. And we always keep tabs. So we know, like today while I'm here, they're making Lucky Charms kits because we know we have 1 bag of Lucky Charms left. The kids make them. We have a pucking machine. We love our pucking machine.
A what machine?
It's a pucker. It's not really called a pucker, but
okay.
It's a good word, right?
Yeah, I can't stop eating this cookie, by the way.
Good for you. Isn't that a lovely
I've like
cookie?
moved the mic. I'm not chewing into the mic, but it is very good.
Very
so I'm
good.
gonna keep eating it.
And I like that they're as big as your head, but they're not. There's no calories in them. I don't know how that works scientifically. I can't argue with science.
Well, thank God for that.
So the kids, when they come in, they learn to make the kits, and then they learn to make the dough in the big mixer, which is always really fun because it's really like 500 pounds. It's not. It's like 40 pounds, but it feels like 500 pounds. And in the beginning, when they start, they can barely get the crank up to get the bowl up, and then by the end, they're like, it ain't no thing. And then they scoop the cookies or they put the dough into the pucker. It's a manual pucker, and think of it as a giant Play-Doh machine. So it's got gears that pull the dough down into it as you turn the crank. And then as it's extruded through the bottom, there's a little thing a wire that goes and cuts off the cookies. And so they're all the same shape.
Where did you get so you start, this is the thing about like an in-person business that fascinates me. And we're, one of these episodes, I don't know if it's before or after this one, will be about Kat and Nick and the Berg bus. These are in-person businesses. I have a online business and we do go places in person, but the idea of having to get all this equipment and manage a physical space and all of this terrifies me. Like the idea, I just can't imagine being like, I gotta get this pucker machine. Where does one find one of these? How do I make sure I have enough flour? Like that seems like such a massive undertaking.
So that's taken me, the pucker was one of those things that as we started to get more busy, and I'd say there's got to be a more efficient way to do it.
Yeah.
So I just started to look for those, and I first found the electric depositors and went, this doesn't seem safe. Like I don't want anything that anyone has to push a stop button on.
Yeah.
For my own safety, seriously, I am the worst when it comes to anything that can injure me. So I just started looking, and I found this. It's called the Cookie King. And I found this depositor, and I sent a message to the guy and whatever. It turns out his dad invented it. And
where is this guy? Like, where did you get this?
I found him online. I just started looking for, machines, things that do things. You'd be surprised, the rabbit holes we all fall into. And I bought it before we needed it. And my son is the operations guy. And my son's like, come on, Mom, you just spent $3,000 on a thing. And for a year and a half, we used it hardly ever because it was cumbersome to take apart and wash and whatever. Now we use it all the time. And now we understand how to clean it. So it takes 15 minutes. Now it's not a big deal.
Right.
The kids love it when they get escalated to pucker. I mean, pucker's amazing.
So the pucker is what like the shape, right?
Right. Well, the pucker makes the three. It has like a die that goes into it. So if we wanted to make dog bone shapes, for example, we could have it extrude in that shape. So we just do round. And we have 2 sizes, a small one and a big one. We don't use the small one often, but we use the big one for everything. Yeah. So we modified all of our cookie recipes so that our cookies are nearly the same size, so they're compatible with each other, so that they could puck. So some cookies have a little more butter in them than other cookies, maybe more butter than they need, no such thing, so that they are uniform.
Stay close to that, Mike. Don't forget.
That's right.
Microphone.
Hi, Mike.
But you know what? It's so interesting how there are so many different businesses, how there are so many different jobs that one can have, and the specialized knowledge that you need in this.
But
that
you get it as you
things
go.
I've never thought of. But that's
Sure.
crazy.
You
'Cause
just
it's-
pick it up.
you just
And
pick it
that's-
up.
Yeah, for people like starting out a business, Rachel, I like completely agree with you. Like, and then listening to you, Connie, talk about it, like it's NBD. You'll just figure it out. No
Yeah,
big-
you'll just figure it out.
It is like, being an anxious person. The thought of that is like very overwhelming. So you must have started with like, hey, son, Addison, like, let's sit down and say these are all the tasks we need to do.
Yeah, did you make a business plan or something?
Okay,
Yeah.
so my son went to. Do you know what the SBDC is?
I don't.
So we are very lucky in Pittsburgh because
Okay.
we have a small business.
Small business. Okay.
It's a small business development center. We work with the one out of Duquesne.
Okay.
It's through the Small Business Administration. I'd say 98% of the help you get there is 100% free. They help you understand financing, write your business plan. I'm going to a class next week on how to improve your management style. Like they have seminars and volunteers that do all kinds of stuff. Addison started in the counterpart in Madison. He's living in Madison. He was a computer programmer who was
Madison,
just
Wisconsin?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
who was just done. He was there a decade. He just said, there's got to be more to life than this cubicle, and I'm going to find it.
I'm going to make cookies
So
with
he-
my
That's
mom.
what's more to
with
life.
my mom. He came home and he's like, Mom, I'm going to quit my job. Don't tell me not to. I'm like, Ad, you're 30 years old. I can't tell you to do anything, right?
Right, but he wanted your, that,
So, yeah. So
he
he's,
wanted you to be okay with it.
right.
Yeah.
So he's like, I don't know what I can do. So we just started spitballing ideas. And they always say, start with what you know. And he goes, what's the best job you ever had? When I was in college, I worked in a Baskin Robbins. And I eventually became the manager of that Baskin Robbins. And I loved that job.
Yeah.
Because people come into Baskin Robbins or an ice cream store, and if they're in a bad mood, they leave in a better mood because they have ice cream. And if they're in a good mood,
Yeah.
they leave in a better mood because they have ice cream. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
It's not there's very few people who you make angry in an ice cream store.
Yeah.
So then what do we know? We know cookies. At Christmas time, we started after my mom. My mom was the cookie person, right? And Italians,
Yeah.
there's always one person in the family who's gifting the cookies to everyone. That was
Yeah.
my mom. So when she died, one sister got the cookbook with the lasagna recipe. Addison was actually got my mom's cookbook. Because,
the cookies.
With the cookies. And
Okay.
so, and I used to go and sit with my mom and make the cookies. And so we got the cookies. So that's how we said, okay, well, I bet we could. And I love ice cream sandwiches. I always loved them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my son said, if I had to learn to make something, ice cream wouldn't be terrible. So he did the SBDC program. It was a paid program, but the way it worked is that if you got your business plan completed and implemented, then you got your money back. So,
Oh, that's good to know.
right, because
cool.
90% of the people who get through a program like that are successful because 90 or 10% of them, right. However, the statistic works, which I'm clearly making up. If you get through this program, you have a much higher success rate. And if you
Sure.
get to the point where you submitted that business plan, then you're already on the right path. And if you didn't get there, then you figured out early on that you weren't ready. And so you just
Right.
fall behind. I'm a
Right.
media pro. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I did. Yes.
So anyway, he got his money back. He said, I will not be that 1% that doesn't make it. So
Yeah.
at this point in
Good for him.
time, they had 0 failures.
Wow.
Once the business opened, he said, I won't be number one. And
Right,
so far,
right.
we're not.
No
So we
surprise
transferred
there.
to Duquesne, and we worked with the Duquesne SBDC, and we still work with them. And if we have a problem here, now we're 3 years in, we still call Doug and say, hey, Doug, what can you tell me about this? And they just are a wealth of information. So that was helpful. And as you saw from
great.
your last podcast, I will ask a question to anyone who I think might have any idea what's going to make it more efficient for me.
Right.
Yeah, I love that. You have to with a business, you have to want to figure things out
Right.
or find somebody who can
knows how to-
figure
right.
it out.
And
Right.
feel comfortable enough to start that conversation, ask for help. So is that something that you've had to do?
I was approached last year by Inglis, which is a disability nonprofit based out of Philadelphia, but now has moved to Pittsburgh. And they work primarily in disability housing and employment. And they did a business accelerator program. And when I was poached by them, I didn't realize I was being poached. Somebody came in and said, "Oh, you should apply for this thing." Well, it turns out that they had done a lot of research about the businesses they wanted to help foster, but it was up to us to actually respond to it. So I applied for this thing and I got in, and it was a class and then a workshop, and a workshop, whatever. And then they had a pitch competition at the end, and there was $10,000 grant, and we won that grant.
Cool.
Oh, wow.
And that's what got us through funding for this year's programming, because federal
awesome.
funding, which we were using for job training, for paid work through OVR, of course, with current administration, is gone, right? So now we're still able to continue because we can still fund. So there's all these, like, for me, it's always been mission oriented. For Addison, it's always been business oriented.
And that's awesome. I think the fact that you do have a son who knows those things,
Right.
Because
I couldn't do it all.
right. Those
Somebody
are two
needs
really,
to know business. Like somebody
Right.
needs.
Someone needs to be paying attention.
paying attention.
So, paying attention. So 80-20 is the rule, right?
Yeah.
100% of things have to get done. You probably only need to do 20% of them. You can give 80% of those things away. So the first year I gave nothing away, and I worked 16-hour days, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And then over time, my job trainers, Deb, thank God for Deb. If Deb wasn't there, I wouldn't be here today, because I'd still be, you have to know that you have to trust that A, you're training people the way you want them to be trained, and B, that you can trust them to do the things that you need to have done. And I have that person now. And hopefully we're training kids behind us to be those people in their workplaces as they move on. Reliable, trustworthy learners, people who have a desire to do it.
And I want to learn a little bit more about like how you get the folks with special needs in there. Is that all the staff, or because I know you and your son and your husband also work there, scooping ice cream, doing all the things. So if you go there, everybody, you'll meet this lovely lady and her family. How does it work with getting folks in?
So we partnered with a organization called Bender Leadership Academy, and their primary focus is working on transition services. And transition services means between 16 and 21, when a kid is still in the purview of school, the school is paying for services to help them not be couch potatoes when they graduate, right? They want them to find something, a day program, whatever. But we don't want them in sheltered workshops making 30 cents an hour. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We want them doing meaningful, sustainable work, even if it's 1 day a week. Some kids don't want that. Some kids want to volunteer. Some kids want to work, 1 day a week. Some kids want to work 7 days a week. Like, you just have to listen to that person. Just like they're just people, right? So whatever decisions they can have, they should have. We work with transition coordinators at schools, and the transition coordinators can be sometimes a special ed teacher. Sometimes like Montour has their own transition coordinator. If a parent comes to me, then I send that parent to the school and I say, have that person call me. I connect them to Bender. We work with them. We work with OVR still. We work with whoever we have to work with to get them in. Everybody that comes to us doesn't stay for the whole program. We had one kid who we loved who swore he wanted to be a baker. He swore this is what he wanted to do. Could not stand the feeling of eggs on his hands or his hands in dishwater. And we're like, dude,
Well,
I got
that's
bad news for you.
Yeah, that's not going to work. Is it primarily kids with Down syndrome, or are there other
tons of disabilities.
tons of different disabilities? Okay.
We have one individual who comes once a week. They don't do our work training program. They do our volunteer program, but who's in a wheelchair. And there's plenty of things. Like when we planned our space, we planned it to be completely ADA compliant so that anybody could function in any capacity that they were able to do.
Oh my God, I just had like a genius idea
Yeah.
that Natalie will appreciate. What about older people who are living with dementia?
So we have had some volunteers
Yeah.
come in, usually with a staff person.
Yeah.
And they do things like, we did have some people helping us at Christmas time
Yeah.
with putting together little trays and stuff like that.
Okay.
But also, that population really loves the interaction, the social interaction
Yes.
with our staff.
With the younger people too.
And so we're open to all of that. Like we're just I'd like to say mom and pop, but Ken's pursuing music now, so
That's her husband.
I don't get to see him very much anymore.
So it's mom and other kids
people,
and other people. Yeah.
Mom and everybody.
Mom and everybody else.
But yeah, we'd love to explore that with you.
That would be interesting. I would like to talk about that. We got to wrap up this party.
I know I talk so much.
No, it was great, and also I'm like trying desperately not to eat these.
You're going to eat that
cookies
cookie. I
live.
absolutely know the rest of that
I'm
sugar cookie is gone.
Going to. I'm trying not to eat it into the microphone. You know.
I don't chew into the side.
Connie,
Yeah.
thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Emily,
will
do
tell
you have
us,
any-
just plug the
a plug for
plug
your
it where
business.
it is.
Cookie ice cream. We are in McKees Rocks, Kennedy Township,
in
actually,
Pittsburgh.
next to Bob's Diner. We are currently on McKees Rocks Road, but we just found out, due to a fire call yesterday, that our street is being renamed to 1815 Langer Way. So I don't know
Interesting.
which
Where?
way you're going to find me.
Okay.
Cookieicecream.com and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and my car, like wherever.
Your car.
all the things.
We do mobile stuff. We cater events. We do corporate stuff. We love to do corporate stuff. We love to put the kids in the community because they deserve to be in the community, front and center, doing the job.
Cool.
It's really great stuff.
I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for
Yeah,
being here,
thanks so
Connie.
much. Thanks. Thank you.